Hello and thanks for checking out my video. I spent the summer building this pizza oven, and I built it because we stayed at a place in Malaga in 2019 just before the pandemic, and it had a pizza oven and we fell in love with it. And I promised my wife to build her one for her 50th birthday, which was actually last year, and I finally got round to it this year. The video is really just a collection of clips I made whilst building the pizza oven, and you might notice some heavy breathing here and there. Apologies for that, that's because I just downed the tools and picked up the phone and started filming. Just for full disclosure, I'm actually the UK sales manager for Protometer moisture meters, so you'll see a few of those products popping up here and there with explanations as to how they're being used. The video is just for entertainment purposes only, but the only bit of real advice I'll give is if you're using pearlite as the insulating material, it contains a lot of silica which can cause a dust problem, so make sure you're wearing a protective mask when you're using it. You don't want that stuff getting into your lungs and causing a long-term problem. Other than that, please enjoy the following clips, and if you've got any questions or comments, I'll try and get back to you in the comments as quickly as I can. Thanks. So this is pretty much all I did in terms of design work, and the point of this was really to try and define the dimensions of the opening of the oven and the relationship between the chimney and the doorway here. When you look at this view, you can see that I've got the door which is actually blocking off the chimney and sealing up the cooking area. So the idea is that I can take the fire out, or after the fire has gone out, I can cook with retained heat and insulate all that heat in there with the door. Okay, so this design started with a square base that was going to be on concrete or concrete blocks or bricks, but in the end I built a round tower and sort of cut a scallop out of my decking to accommodate it. One of the most important dimensions is obviously the working height. If you want to be really sure about this, then get yourself a shovel or a pizza peel if you already have it, and hold it at length and see what it feels like in order to sort of manipulate and load this with pizzas and sort of take them out again, and that will give you an idea of what the height needs to be. And also remember, you need to be able to see towards the back here as well without stooping too much when you're using it. This was going to be perlite and cement, and then rock wool. I actually had two layers in the end. The inner layer was loaded with sand to help hold some heat. Also, I think I put vermiculite and cement here, but in the end I went for some thermal blocks from a night storage heater, which are made of a material called feolite, which has a lot of iron oxide in, which actually makes them very heavy but also really good at holding and retaining heat. So yeah, so I'm not going to dwell too much on this because, like I said, the design changed or developed as I went on. Okay, so hopefully you can follow it through. So I built this bit of decking. It's 4.8 meters square with a couple of steps, and it's quite close to this fence, but it's really the only place we could put the oven. So what I need to do is cut this section out, reinforce the sort of overhanging planks, and then start digging down for a concrete pad. So I just started cutting this circle out, and started off with a panel saw, then one of those, trying to do a neat line, but then sort of gave up and went for the jigsaw just for speed really. And it's hottest day of the year I think so far, 35 degrees out here, so I didn't really want to be pulling that thing all day long. So yeah, let's see how we go. So the outer joist that I cut from there, I was going from there to there, I've cut it to act as a support when I remove this one here. So that corner there should go in between the leg, which is there, and that back joist right in the corner there, and then this angle's cut to butt up against this joist which is staying, so that should give you a bit of toe support on this side here. Should be okay. So digging has started. Probably need to go down about 6 inches all round, which means this side's going to be a lot deeper. But the good news is there's a lot of hardcore down there from, I think there used to be a drive here, this side of the garden. So at least up to the middle of that hole, it's nice and compacted and solid hardcore, but we'll see. So Saturday the 23rd of July, and I've just used a bit of postcrete in there to put that post. So that post was there, but obviously that's where the base of the oven's going to go. So last night I dug out a little bit of this to make the foundation for the oven. So just that post, and then this piece here, this piece of wood is going to go like that to butt up against the joist, give some support to that end, and then somehow I've got to drill it onto that post when the stuff is set. But yeah, so looking good. Then I got a sheet of 8x4 plywood. Going to cut this arc out of it and then screw it down just to protect the surface of that decking while I do the rest of the job. So yeah, post in, wood on. I'll carry on digging a bit more for the foundations. So that's the joist on now. A bit of joist to support that edge, and then obviously I did that before that side. Not sure if I need some here, but I think just that bit really. I think it should be okay. So I'll get those boards back on, and I can cut my sheet to protect it while I do the rest of the digging and building. So there it is, 12 bags of MOT and 3 bags of cement in the end. Yeah, went okay really. It's just hard work mixing by hand. I should have hired a mixer obviously, and I think I will for the top slab when I do that. Got my screw in there, that's green screw, you can see the top of it against the plasterboard. That's the centre, so when this has gone off a little bit, I'll mark out the lines for brick, and then these bricks that I got yesterday, which wall free, got about 250, and they need a bit of cleaning up. I'll start to lay it and plan the first course of bricks there. See how it goes. Yeah, a bit of old plasterboard which I don't want to pay for to get disposed, so I'm going to hide it in the middle there. What I might do actually, because we're going to have a wood store underneath the pizza oven itself, inside the cylinder, I'm going to put a damp proof or just a sheet of polythene on really to stop any damp, just making our wood any damper than it is. It might be a good idea. But yeah, so let's tomorrow is Monday. Tuesday I think I've got the day off to do a bit of brickwork there. So there it is. So I've marked out the board for building the liner, if you like, and what I've done, so this is going to have an inflatable ball inserted into the hole here, right? So the diameter, inner diameter of the dome is going to be 900 millimeters, but because I'm going to fit an inflatable or an exercise ball in here, that's going to have a bit of an odd shape because it will flex out this way. So I'm going to make this hole smaller to pinch it in, and then I'm guessing it will, my kind of estimate is that it will swell out to sort of 900-ish. And then I'll build up a dam using this stuff, which is sort of flexible plastic floor protector. So I'll build a dam around, like a wall around there, to come up to that point hopefully, and that will give me a nice straight section. So yeah, that was it really. And then what I've decided to use is a bit of sand in this inner layer, so that it retains some heat there. So it's going to be sand, perlite and cement, then chicken wire, then just perlite and cement mix for the insulation layer, and then that's just going to be the insulation. So yeah, I've transferred pretty much most of that to here. I'm going to cut that off to make it easier to handle, and then use those bits to make some supports underneath. And they've got some old fence posts I'm going to use for some legs, so that's going to be the next step. So almost a day's work really, to get all this marked out and cut. Put it on some legs now, this thing. Obviously those legs need to be half the diameter of the ball to keep it off the ground. And then I've built this sort of thing here to build over once the ball's in place. The ball sort of hits this bit, but it's only a little bit, so I'm sure by the time it gets to here it'll be all right. So I've got to put the ball in, inflate it, and then see where these surfaces here will intersect with the board, so I can cut material to bridge that gap. But this one I can coat that now. I've got some sort of flexible chopping board, like camping chopping boards here, which are kind of rigid enough, I think, to put around here now to finish that form. But yeah, a nice another day's work in the sun. So that's everything ready for the first coat then. And the first coat's going to be 2 parts perlite, 2 parts sand. Sorry, 1 part sand, 1 part cement. I've added sand in this layer just so it can hold some more heat. I'm hoping it will give it some strength as well. But yes, that's all ready. And for this first layer, because it's the less insulating layer, I'm going to stop here. And the next layer, which will be more insulating after some chicken wire, will be only perlite and cement, and then I'll take that all the way up to here, and this is the line where the bricks are going to start for the front. So that's it. I've got the former in for the chimney, so that's a 7¼ inch diameter there, and that comes down to 6, which is the inside diameter of the chimney pipe that I need to get. Yeah, so that's the mix, just mixed up, quite dry, so I can stack it hopefully. So I'll start in this corner and work my way around and do sort of a few inches height at a time. So the first mix I did, it was a bucket, came up to about here. I was trying to go higher, but it was too wet and it was starting to slump a little bit. And of course, the more you work it with a trowel, the more the moisture gets drawn to this side, which means you've got sort of less of a finish against the ball there. So I did another 2 more mixes, quite dry this time. I mean, it balls up, but you don't get the sort of the slip coming out so much. And then I think I've just done those. I think I'll call it a day there. I've wrapped some cling film around it really to support it, and I guess stop it drying out too quickly. But yeah, it looks all right. I'm sort of just over the line by about 5 mil there, but that's not the end of the world, is it? I think if that can go off reliably tonight, and then tomorrow I can put some more on. So not a total disaster, but I should have mixed up a whole lot more really in a wheelbarrow or something, but sort of a bit of a test phase really. So yeah, let's see how it goes. So back to the tower again then. I've put my membrane down, which is going under the bricks. The idea being that it's going to be used as a wood store, and I don't want moisture from the ground coming up and making everything damp. Also, I don't want sort of rising damp pushing any render or staining the tower or the cylinder on the outside. So that should be okay. I've glued that block on there just to pick up the center again, measuring from sort of these surfaces here which are cut, and then that one there, to pick that up. And then I've marked where sort of the radius is actually the start of the render on the outside. So you can see I've gone over a bit here, a bit too far, but I'll put it back in, that's no big deal. So yeah, so almost there today. Tapping it, you get a nice sort of ceramic ring to the sound, which is encouraging. Put these in today so I can feed a bit of bent rebar through, so that you can have a rail to hang stuff off, for sort of hanging meat and stuff for cooking later on. So hopefully tomorrow morning 1 more mix should do it, and then I'll start with the chicken wire to reinforce it. Also did 3 courses now on the tower. Got my pin in there for the center, damp proof membrane protected with some sand so I don't break it when I'm in there working. Yeah, so far so good. So just, I think the last mix to do, I'll do half a mix for this one just to finish the top off. The bits of pipe I put in there weren't really at the right angle for a straight bit of rebar to go through from side to side, so I've had to scratch away some of this, and it's quite workable. Well, it's probably, you know, this stuff probably takes a month to fully set, so if you're careful you can still scratch away some of that. There's a few nasty looking fissures and cracks around this side, which I'm going to drizzle all this with some kind of slip later anyway when I put the chicken wire on, just to reinforce it. Hopefully that'll help, but
Yeah, it's starting to rain a bit as well, so I might either do this quickly or cover it up and come back later on, see what the weather's doing. Okay. Oh, I'm going to put a pipe in the top as well, probably for a temperature sensor. I'll put a bit of steel pipe in there, and so we can maybe drop a thermistor down or something later on. So in the end then, that took 5 days, 5 mixes to finish the dome. Yesterday I put the last mix on top, which is just the cap really, and I put some mesh around it and tightened it up by twisting these sections. And then the idea is I put a thin coat of render, but now probably time to take the ball out and see if it all collapses. Shouldn't do. So far so good. Oh, not too bad. Look at that. Wow. That's pretty cool. So things have moved on a bit, and I've started making the shuttering or the mould for the base of the oven. Now it's upside down at the moment, so here I'm going to fill this with some of that foam, expanding foam, and that's going to be the recess that has the sort of insulating layer, and also the fire bricks that are going to come out of a night storage heater. Hello, Harry. So it's all upside down at the moment. So I've got the foam. I'm going to put that in now. I'm going to make a sort of a cover of polythene or damp-proof course, and then use a plank to make sure that stuff goes in flat against that surface. And then I've got some reinforcement steel and aluminium mesh to go in as well, so that when I build up the concrete, I'll come up to the 100mm here, then lay another sheet of mesh across the whole lot, and then fill the last sort of 50mm to make the base. So it's going to be heavy, but I think I'll be able to get some people around to help me. And then going back to the tower, so these 4 bricks here with no holes in, they're going to be the sort of the doorway into the sort of log storage. So I need to make a moulding for an arch, which is a bit of a complicated shape because it's radial here. This edge will be sort of radial like that, and then I'll have to come up and over to sort of a flat arch or flat surface underneath that arch there. So yeah, it's going okay. And then the dome, I've sort of wrapped the mesh around the dome, keeping it covered so it doesn't dry too quickly. And I had some leftover cement yesterday. I'll just sort of use that to secure that mesh. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm kind of in 2 minds now about whether or not to put this next cement perlite layer for insulation. I might just hit it with a lot of rock wool to keep it light, because this is probably quite heavy now. But anyway, the ball came out okay, and the finish inside isn't so bad. The other thing I'm going to do is stabilize the inner surfaces here with some very wet fire cement. So I'm going to get some pots of fire cement, dilute it a bit, and make sure that really soaks in, just to stabilize those surfaces for the high temperature. So should be okay. And it's all a bit experimental really, and the direction changes depending on progress, nature of the job, I suppose. So it's just gone 7 o'clock on the 13th of August. Probably going to be the hottest day of the year. And I'm going to mix probably about 12 bags of MOT with cement and fill the mould here. The extra things I've done, I've screwed these in because I might have to get this up on its end and walk it on this end. So I'm going to leave this bit of wood on to secure it. Hello, Harry. Harry, what's this? So that's that. So they're sort of in place, ready to be moulded in. Got all the reinforcement cut to go around. There's the main bit there, and also the mesh there, which you can't really see, to go on the last layer. I've put some ropes there as well, which might help with moving later on. And also I've bent this up. That's going to be sort of cast in place there, to act as a sort of a rail to hang stuff off, like utensils and things. Of course, this is all going to be upside down. I found some quarry tiles on Facebook, which I'm going to put in this recess here, which is going to be the top, and probably a little bit in there as well, just to give me a nice sort of entrance to the oven. So, gonna get mixing then. So that was 10 bags of aggregate or MOT in the end, which took a while. It's about 9:30 now, so it wasn't too bad. Put a hook in the middle in case I want to dry something under there, maybe some pheasant, or who knows. But not too much leakage. I've been tapping around these sort of uprights around here just to move some of the bubbles as I've been going, but it's not too bad. So the sun's sort of threatening to get on it now, so I'll cover it up so it doesn't dry out too quick. Maybe trowel that surface off a bit more, just to, well, no one's going to see it, so I don't really care, but it'd be nice if it's level completely. But yeah, not too bad for an early start. So I carried on and built up some of the tower in the evenings through the week, and also last weekend made that, thinking that the archway for the door would be quite simple, but it's more complicated than that, because this surface here should be at an angle, which is this angle here. So the difference between sort of there and there, so it's radial sort of to the center of the tower. So the arch had to start there and come over the top, and the top surface here had to be sort of horizontal, obviously. So you had this really strange shape, which I managed to sort of model using this flexible floor covering stuff. I'll get some sealed sort of hardboard for that, and just use that as a template to cut it out. So if you look from above, this surface here has to line up sort of vertically with the bottom of that doorway there, which it does. So I'll have to build that sort of framework to make sure that's sort of in line. So yeah, a bit of a tricky job. I tried to sort of develop it on paper using geometry, but probably just as easy to do it this way in the end. So I've got a few more courses to go before I start hitting the turn there, so it should be interesting. So Saturday 20th of August, and here we are. So I've got some brackets here to put around the bottom here for these joists to go in for some shelving. That's going to be for the wood store. I should have thought really and cemented in some brackets, but looks like I have to go drilling them in, so it's a bit of a shame, but there you go. Got my bricks ready, half bricks ready for the arch. I'm just going to start here and end here. These are the other ones. I've got my steels ready, did a bit of reinforcement. Also acts as another shelf, just for utensils and things, so that's going to be sort of a shelf laid across those. So yeah, so I'm going to put these brackets in. Going over to the base. So the base was cast last weekend, and it's looking good. It's upside down, obviously. Need to hire a crane, I think, to move it. It's probably about 300 kilograms there. So that's that, and also the dome. I need to coat the inside of that with some fire clay. I'll do 2 coats, one really thin watery one so it penetrates in there to support the cement, and then another sort of thicker one to get a nicer finish. And there's the dog. What are you doing? So, another busy weekend. So it's Tuesday night and it's just up to height now. I've just put one last brick in because I ran out of muck last night. That's there. Got the joists in for the bottom shelf, and the upper shelf will fit on these. Interesting note, I don't know if you can hear that, but it'd be interesting to see if that changes once the half a ton weight of the slab, the dome, the bricks, the heat retaining bricks are on there. It's going to be quite heavy. Is it going to fall down? I'm sure it'll be alright. But yeah, pleased with that, the way it looks. I'll pull that support out in the morning. Just waiting for a bit of leftover cement that I put in the back to dry. Just using it up. Yeah, exciting. Clean that off, that'd be alright. Not too bad. So things have moved on a bit. Yesterday my nephew and his team of guys came and helped me lift this on. I've started putting pearlite in there, so the insulation layer, that's 50mm thick. I've run out of that stuff, so I'm just waiting for another delivery. And today I'm going to cut these feolite blocks from the night storage heater to put the shape, and I've got sort of a 40mm gap all around, which I'll fill with probably pearlite and fire clay mix actually. So yeah, I've just started cutting my first block there. And what I'm doing is cutting it to sort of, I don't know, 5mm deep all round, and then using the chisel to finish cracking it through there, so that'll make a weak point and then it should break. Which same thing I did for these quarry tiles, which are reclaimed, so only one of them broke. Bit of a disaster, but I've got sort of 20 left anyway, which I need to find a use for. But just really pleased with how that slab went on. I strapped sort of 3 poles across it, and sort of 6 of us moved it into place, and so far it didn't fall down. So yeah, blocks on today, cement those in, and the dome is now upside down, and I've been going around the inside and sort of the opening here with some fire clay just to reinforce that first layer. I actually painted it with a very sort of watered down fire clay water mix, just so it could soak in and really support that cement there and the pearlite from before. So yeah, hopefully if my pearlite arrives I might be able to get that on this weekend, but let's see what happens. So that went okay, apart from one that broke broke in the wrong place, and that's because I was lying it flat and hitting it with a chisel after I'd scored it with a grinder. I found the best way was to hold it up in the air and just hit it with a hammer along the grooves, and they just sort of fall apart nicely. A little bit of chipping around, so that one, yeah, that one hasn't really gone in the right place, but that's fine. They even had some corner bits as well just to fill those gaps. So when the pearlite comes, I can put it all on there and get it leveled up and cemented in place. If you're going to use these feolite blocks out of a night storage heater, then just be warned they're really dusty and black, so definitely wear a mask, eye protection and all, ear protection and all that good stuff. So I think we'll have a bit of a tidy up now and then wash it all down. So, glorious bank holiday Monday, and the cat is in the dome. So today's plan is to mount that onto the base. Had a bit of a disaster, well, not a disaster, but I had to cut 4 inches off of this because it was a bit re-entrant. When I checked the calculations for the height of this opening, it just didn't make sense because I'd gone too high with the dome really. So this distance from here to the bottom needs to be 0.65 or 65% of the height to the inside of the dome there. So I had to cut a bit off. It just does look a bit low though, so I might mount it up an inch or two with some more of this stuff mixed up. It's nice how this looks, almost like reminds me of Australian Crunch. So that's going on here. I put these tiles on yesterday for the entrance, these quarry tiles, and this was actually open in the sun yesterday. When I got back last night it was completely dry, but covered it up last night, and this morning it's wet again, so there's a lot of water in here which will need to come out before we can put too much heat on there. So I need to perhaps get a lamp on it or something over the next few weeks just to force it to dry out a bit more. Anyway, so I'll put my line on and then I'll get some help to come and help me lift that dome on. So I made quite a bit of progress over the bank holiday weekend. Got the oven skin on the cupola on, and then last night I put a few layers of this. So this was 3 parts pearlite to 1 part cement, just built up. I wrapped it in cellophane to support it whilst I went up, but obviously as I got to the top it was more self-supporting. I've got a hygrometer in here now, it's a Protometer MMS3 with a humidity box. There's a humidity probe in there and a little void which is sort of in contact with the surface, and the air pocket in there becomes in equilibrium with the moisture content of that surface, and this is taking the measurement. So right now it's very wet, so 98% relative humidity, which means if I put any heat on this now it'll probably start to crack and things as the sort of water vaporizes. So what I'm going to do, I've got a sort of a light, loft light in here. I'm going to put a 100-watt bulb in there and just leave that to actually add a little bit of heat in here to push the moisture out. So moisture will always sort of travel from hot to cold. Hopefully I can push it through. So I'll see how that comes down in the next few days. And that's pretty much where we are really. That piece of wood, I've got that there, that's loose, and that's just a gauge for any movement here as things dry out. And I've done that because I saw there was a small crack here, but I think that's just drying cracks really. And you know, when you look at the sort of loads acting on here, all the main load, or the collection of sort of weight of all that stuff there is acting not quite on the center of that circle, because we've got this extra bit here, but a little bit sort of forward of the center, but that's still way behind the line of support of those two corners there, or those that sort of opening. So I'm not really worried about that at all in terms of collapsing. So yeah, so this is going to dry a bit, and then I'll get a 50mm rock wool to cover that, and then chicken wire, and then I'll really need to drive out some of the moisture before final render coat. But yeah, I'm quite pleased. just can't wait for the day when I can get this piece of plywood up and then we can oil the decking again, because that's suffered a little bit from cement stains. Yeah, quite pleased. So I've just got this in position then to put the rest of this insulation layer on. So it's going to form the weir here, which gives us the right height into the oven. And then also I've put this sort of part here. These are bags full of sand, which is taped on, because what that'll do is make sure the smoke is collected from either side of the chimney, hopefully. And I've seen that feature on other ovens, so I've tried to include it here. So that's the negative of what I'm going to make. Got these engineering blue bricks to go on the front and over as well. Got those down there, so I'm just leaving a bit of room there, and then I'll build over that and then coat the top of those later on with another layer of that, and that'll be the finishing layer. So yeah, it's looking okay. Actually, that'll probably just be render here, because I don't need the insulation. So let's get mixing. So the past 2 evenings then, I've built this up, this entrance, and then last night put all the formers in for the chimney, and did this sort of last coat of pearlite. It's a darker colour because I bought the wrong cement, but it's still gone off okay. So I'll give that another sort of 6 hours or something, and then pull these out, get a knife in there to cut the joint between that cylindrical part, and then hopefully that will drop down. Sounds easy. I'm sure I'll have a bit of a struggle with it. I've made this sort of groove here because this will be coated with rock wool later on, and then once that comes up level to that surface, I'll tie it all off with chicken wire, and then put a final coat of render on it. And then probably before putting the render on, I'll need to force some water out a bit more with putting some more heat inside. But yeah, it's coming on okay. Probably on target to be finished this weekend, really, or most of it anyway. Need to get some tiles for this front and the sides to line up with this, so I'll get like a quadrant tile there to go along there, and then something that looks nice. That really set it off. Need to clean these up a bit as well, get all the cement dust off them. But this is quite pleased with how this has gone off, really. And there's the cat. So that's the formwork out, and it's held together quite well. There's a few sort of bits that broke off here, but I can fix that with the render and stuff. So that's gone quite well, actually. So you can see the sort of these grooves here to collect the smoke and stuff. So I'll I'll coat this up with fire clay slip as I did the inside, just to block off all any sort of pores in there and give it a bit more strength. Humidity wise, so with the light going for the last sort of 3 days, that's come down to it was about 97, 96. So still a way to go to get the water out of that surface, which is, you know, coming up from the slab and everything else. There's still a lot of water in there which needs to come out, but yeah, it's going all right. This is the sort of surface that the door will butt up against, because that will close the chimney off. But I probably need to get some proper heat in here now somehow. So I've had a fan heater in here all day, and the inside got up to about 50 degrees, which is good. So I think I've driven some of the moisture out at least. It's all got a bit lighter. Been around that sort of seam there with some fire clay slip, and I've also coated up these surfaces with slip, and also sort of built up or filled in that lip there for the door to make it a bit more compliant for the door, and sort of coated this a little bit as well, filling in the holes, because I don't really want the combustion soot to go into the cement perlite mix really. So that's ready now for gluing the chimney in. But before I do that, I'm going to put some screws in around here to hold the mesh down, and then put the rock wool in around this dome. So hopefully, looks like it might rain today, but should get somewhere this weekend with it. So yeah, quite pleased with this door and how that sort of flaunch has gone on. It's nice and solid now. I think with a bit of white paint on it will look good. So Saturday 3rd of September, just about 7:30 nearly, and last night I got the rock wool on with the chicken wire, and it's more or less round enough for me to put the render on. So I'm just setting up to mix 5 sand to 1 of cement. Start at the bottom, of course, and then see how it goes. This is a little bit damp, which is ideal really, because it's going to suck the moisture out of the render as soon as you put it on if it's too dry. I'll also coat this as well just to stabilise it, and then later on put the chimney in. So things are moving on. I had a 3 kilowatt fan heater in here yesterday just to drive some of the moisture out of this area and not out of these blocks and pick the base here. And before I started that, it was up in the 90s, the humidity, but now it's gone down to just under 70 there, so that's a really good move. So today's going to be rendering the top of the dome and then fitting the chimney into the hole. So another busy day. Got the insulation on last night, coated that up this morning and fitted the chimney there. Been in around with a bit more fire clay to tidy this up, and lit a small fire just to see what it looks like really. I won't let it burn too much because it's going to cause this to steam out or whatever, and probably not the best thing. I need to let that dry naturally for a few days before starting to apply lots of heat. But so far so good. So here I'm going to attempt to make the door. So I'm going to cut a front sheet and a back sheet from 0.5mm thick steel, mild steel, and then put some lips on the bottom. I'm going to try and bend it up using this hardwood here as a sort of a former, and then make another bend again so I've got a lip, and then I'll assemble the two so the lips are facing, and then fill it with pearlite and cement mixture. So that'll be the insulation through, but I just wanted a nice sort of steel front and back to it really to give it a bit more durability. So yeah, let's see how this goes. Okay, right, so I've got my trusty Protometer Timbermaster here, just to check the moisture in this wood. Now this wood down here was obtained from a tree that was cut down where we walk the dogs, and we brought the logs home. I split it a few weeks ago, and on the outside it's only giving, oh hello Harry, only giving me about 14. Okay, so 14% moisture content there. Should look on this side actually. Yeah, similar story, so 15.3. okay, so that's not too bad. I did buy some guaranteed sort of less than 20% moisture wood, and interestingly that's not even registering on here. So the outer layer of that at least is bone dry, which is really good. However, when I burnt some the other night, there was a few sort of pops and hisses and a bit of steam coming out, so I guess a little bit of water deep in, which is interesting. So this wood in this bag, I actually put this in the oven last time I lit it and had it running, so it could dry out in the heat. Obviously I dragged the fire out and it was all, you know, extinguished and stuff, and that is now gone up a bit. I think maybe because it's in the bag, the moisture has moved again and sort of distributed itself throughout the wood, so that's quite high now. And I took some of that wood earlier and split it down, and was going to use it as kindling. When you look at that, so deep in the wood, it's really high. So I'm going to stick with the bagged kiln dried wood for this cooking session, and we can actually try some pizzas tonight. So let's see what happens.
Okay, it's been a while because I've had some travel for work and stuff, but I came back and I had to finish this door. So I've got 2.8mm thick sheets, which I've cut about. It's really easy to cut actually. So front and back sheet held together with these coach bolts and some screws going through into the handle here, and I've got a door which sort of moves down when that bit of tube's out of the way, just to open that up there, and then a hole here. So on there I'm going to mount temperature gauge, this one. Okay, and that goes through into that recess there that's going to be made by the yogurt pot. So I'm going to fill this now with 3 parts perlite to 1 part cement, and then that'll be some decent insulation there. So, and that obviously is a hole through, so we can let some air in and take a reading with the infrared as well. So I'll mix that up now and put it in and see how that goes. So that went reasonably well. I had a bit of a void in here, so I've just mixed up a little bit more to fill that gap. And all around it's okay, but I will go around sort of the working surfaces with some watered down fire clay just to seal it and give it a bit more support like I did in the oven. So yeah, this needs tightening up a little bit, but I'll scratch that out when it's dried. So yeah, let's see what it's like when it's dried out. Hopefully not too heavy, so we'll see. First pizza is in. So the door was finished, got the gauge in there reading just under 200 Fahrenheit at the moment actually, and there's a fire going. I've got a couple of new cast iron pans in there, just oiled up to condition them at the moment, but the door seems to be going okay, and sort of with it in place there's no smoke coming out the front, because without the door sometimes when the wind blows in the wrong direction you get some smoke through the front, but it's all going through the up through the chimney. So yeah, that seems to be working okay. It's a bit flimsy here and there, but didn't really have the tools to handle thick steel. I'll probably one day get some sort of 1mm thick stuff. This is only sort of 0.6, but that's all right for now. Oh, Harry wants it. Look at that. That's all right. So a bit of a lesson learnt then. It's now December the 17th, and kind of 0 degrees outside here in the UK southwest, and I thought I'd do some pizzas. So I've done one already, but it took sort of 15 minutes even to sort of dry out, and this is after having the fire going for a good hour and a half like I did in the summer. But I think what's happened is the moisture's crept in to all the stonework and taken all the energy and sort of drying out. There was a bit of hissing, to be honest, so I think that's what's going on. So maybe if I fired it up again tomorrow it would be okay, but yeah, let's have a look at the temperature here. So you can't see that readout, but yeah, 170, 165, and at the top there I got 293. That used to be up in the 400s, you know, and the base where the fire was in the middle when I started it, that's only 237s. That's not bad, so I'm guessing that's dried out a bit tonight. But my poor little pizzas, not really having much fun in there. Never mind, finish them off in the oven. The other good thing is there's still ice on the outside actually.
which is good news. And I guess being sort of a few minus temperatures the last few nights, it's pulled some of the moisture out, so I thought it would be nice and dry because of that, but no, never mind. Can't wait for the spring.